Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Hope you're doing well. This is the first time we've been live in a long while, so it's going to be a fun little chat today. Hope we'll have some visitors. Hope we'll spend some time talking Splinterlands as well as, I don't know, maybe life. There's some crazy changes in my life and probably in some of your lives too. It's been, I think, 2 months since I did a live. In fact, I could probably look that up right now. But I'm pretty sure it's been at least 2 months. Let's go have a peek. Content, video or lives. Last one was April 25th. Whoa. Wow, it's been 3 months. May, June, July. Wow, that's wild. And that was a members only. So yeah, hopefully we'll have lots to talk about. Feels like there's been a lot of amazing things happening. I know some of it's not, maybe I should say a lot of remarkable things happening, because amazing makes it sound like it's all been good news. It hasn't necessarily. It's been some challenging moments, as you guys well know, with SPS dropping through the floor and DEC being below peg, and tensions running high across the issues around vouchers, or the spending DAO funding on different things, even those proposals for new promo cards. So lots of concerns for some people, and some people being really excited about some of those changes. But, tensions run high when it's not unanimous. And frankly, it's never unanimous. We never are going to have unanimity on some of these topics. And that's why decentralized governance has to be... Decentralized governance either needs to be somehow like one vote, one person, and that somehow verifiable, trustless through blockchain technology, and that is possible. Or as an alternative, and it needs to be stake-weighted votes, which is the approach that Splinterlands and SPS and many other blockchains sort of implement. I feel like there's no in-between. You cannot have governance without accountability, and accountability is not possible if there's not one person, one vote, or stake-weighted commitment, because both, in my mind, represent accountability for the voter. Either you are one person with one vote, and you place that vote in an intentional way that drives leadership and accountability for the company, for the direction of the vision of the future, or you have many votes per one person, but that's based on a commitment financially to acquire and stake and hold a large swath of tokens. And both are a form of accountability for the speaker. And when I say speaker, I mean voter. And so really those decentralized government, that's the path. That, in my opinion, that's the path to cut through. I want A and I want B, and A and B are directly opposed. Well, two communities need to decide, and how do they decide? Well, it's got to be through accountability, and that's why decentralized governance is going to be, in my mind, revolutionary, and why it brings something really special to what we're doing and what we will be doing in the future. Because right now, it's like we're scratching at the surface of where that will land. Validator nodes are not operational. And so often in this moment, we're coming to the team and saying, hey, this is what we want, through DAO proposals or through town halls where we're raising our voice and then sometimes being heard. But those conversations and those expectations are brought to a centralized entity, the Steam Monsters company, and we ask, will you do this? And we know full well that they will, or at least most of us do. We know that they will do their best to honor our requests whenever possible. That's been the history of how they've moved, and I think we can trust that. But we're still going to a centralized entity at this moment in time with our decentralized thoughts and approach for leadership, and hoping that they act in a trusted and trustable, with confidence. And that's not where we need to land. That's not decentralized governance. That's centralized governance with those governors being intentional about hearing the decentralized voice. That's not a place of revolutionary leadership. That's just leadership. And if we want to go to that, make that next leap, which we are attempting to, It needs to be part of validating or launching. It needs to be a continued growth of player base, because more player base means more decentralization of the SPS stake, and that's more voices being invited into the conversation. And I think we're going to get there. We're taking one step at a time every single day, and I'm excited to see where that's going to go. I really think that is like part of why this game is revolutionary, because that decentralized governance, not only does it mean the opportunity for a widespread growth of ideas because a number of brains coming towards the conversation, but then also it means it's like an image of the Hydra. Like you chop off one head and there's two more grow back. And if you understand what happened with Steam, the blockchain, and how it led to the Hive blockchain, you understand the power of decentralized governance. Attacks can be thwarted. Bitcoin hasn't been hacked in a way where people's Bitcoin are stolen, not from the ledger. Yeah, you can lose your tokens because you mishandle your tokens. Either you left them on a centralized exchange or you gave your keys away. But Bitcoin has never been hacked because decentralized control is actually very powerful, revolutionary even. And so, again, I think something special is happening here. I think this is a special moment. And even though there's been some big challenges, some big difficulties, SPS in the gutter, and DEC down there too. Hive also, by the way. There's some green candles, and that's kind of exciting. It feels like we're not done. I think most of you agree from a cost perspective, from a price place, we're not done. And, it's going to be fun to watch some of that fireworks if we're right about those fireworks coming. Thanks for coming and hang out today. I'm going to check out the chat, see what you guys are doing, saying. Paul, good to see you, buddy. Haven't seen you in a while. I'm sorry it's been so long with the lives. Got to get back on the live bandwagon. I have talked to the wife and I said, we got 3 kids now, but I've said, what would it take for me to be able to commit to a weekly live? Today is the first day of that, but I'm going to try and repeat these Friday lives because Friday is the day where my wife has the day off, so she can spend some time with Gregory. Hazel's on Summer. That's my older daughter. She's pretty self-reliant for the most part. And then Lumina often has a nurse. That's our middle child, or my second daughter. And so it feels like Friday's probably going to work on an ongoing basis. And I think I'm going to try and do some evening lives too. I recently hopped on with NFT Gaming and Collectibles, chatted with Walking Keys and Gank. And we had a good conversation, talked about the vouchers, talked about an interesting proposal or an idea around using some DAO funding to move the needle on how much Hive is saying yes to the Steam Monsters company support. And I was looking on X and I saw, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but always Gold Matters. Gold Matters is the man. I would love to talk to you at some point in the future, Gold Matters, if you'd ever want to do that. I don't think I've ever seen you do any sort of content. I would love to have a conversation with you, even if it wasn't live, like if you wanted to just chat, because I really respect this man, and he's a content grinder himself, and he's constantly on X, and he also does shorts, and I love it. But I saw in here something about the funding. Might have been yesterday. I'm going to repeat some proposals. At some point recently, I saw him say that the proposal slipped off. Here it is. So it was fun while it lasted. For one day, we are currently not being funded and have fallen below the return proposal. The return proposal has been upvoted, and so the DHF proposal requires X amount of. I actually don't know how many millions of Hive to say yes to it, but it's this ongoing sustained target. Most of you probably know this. Not everybody will. So many millions of people or Hive stake or Hive power have said yes to giving Splinterlands or Steam Monsters, the company, some revenue. It's only, I think, $2,800 a day in Hive power. No, in Hive backed dollars. And that is like a revenue that's generated through the blockchain, and it goes to developments to encourage development on the Hive blockchain. And it was a yes for a day, but it's going to be this moving target. And so I want to pull it up again. How would I do that? How can I look at that? Oh, yes. Okay, so I want to go over here. Is this it? This is the DHF proposal. No, I want to come in here, and I come in here and look at proposals. So yeah, when I was hanging out with Gank and Keys, we talked about would it make sense for the team for the DAO to acquire some Hive and throw a yes on this thing. 26.76 million. I think the other day we had 21, if I'm recalling correctly, or 23. So that's good. I love that. I think it's a no-brainer that support be provided there. Like you would think it's quid pro quo. Like it helps them and it helps us. The more people that are drawn to pay attention to Hive because they're attracted to Splinterlands, it should be a positive thing. When we get new players to play our game, they often use Hive keychain in order to sign their battles, etc. And that is a tool that allows access to all Hive dApps, whether it's PeakD or 3Speak or whatever else. And so it feels like a foot in the door, I would argue, to anybody who might want to explore that Hive chain. So, hopefully the support continues to grow and gain steam over there. Asmon says, love the vids, but I'm making spicy comments on them. Yeah, Asmon, I appreciate that, man. And sometimes, I think just recently I was reviewing a comment that you dropped. And I believe it was a conversation back and forth between somebody. I can't remember what the topic was. Maybe it was the voucher conversation. Paul, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm glad to be back. It's been a crazy month. So July, okay, so probably June 20th, Gregory moved in, and it's been like a month of like intense, lots of high emotions. And it's been wonderful. It's also been really hard, as you might imagine. The little guy had a foster family that loved him well and cared for him, and then that just kind of disappears. And the system is structured in a way that is intended to help him process that. But how could you ever process that? Like, as a 4-year-old, how do you understand that these people who I love and who love me are just like not going to be in my life anymore? And then some people think, well, why don't you just involve them in your life? And of course, we would be happy to do that. We actually like her too. She's a wonderful woman. And her husband too. They're wonderful people. But the trick is that she fosters several families, and she continues to foster more families. And so you can imagine if you had 20 children come through your house and every one of them wanted to have this ongoing relationship, and you have you have biological children yourself and you're continuing to foster new children, it's not reasonable. And so, and some of that will get stronger and better and easier with time because, he's going to get deeper and deeper connections with myself and my wife and my girls. And so he's going to feel more and more attached and secure here. But yeah, the last few weeks have been intense and some deep waters for that little guy and his little heart. And if I'm being honest, for me too. So, but we're going to get through it. And there's been so many cool moments too, like tickle fights and swimming in the lake and, even seeing my girls get along with him in beautiful ways. Yesterday, he played Play-Doh with Lumina and this fishing game for like 2-3 hours, read stories. It's so special. It's so wonderful. And yes, it's also hard. Let's see. Asmon said, did you see my comments telling you we have sold less than 1 million Rebellion packs, rest of 4 billion burnt? Ooh, interesting that you dropped that, Asmon. I don't know that I did see that comment, but I actually came prepared with thoughts on Rebellion. You know what? Let's talk about Rebellion. Because I like to come at least with one topic that I'm thinking about, like when I do a live. And I'm going to hang out for 2 hours today, guys. So if you have comments and you want to chat about whatever, let's get into it. I might go to the comment section and see what's in there. But right now, I'd love to talk about this topic of Rebellion because I was looking before we went live at how many Rebellion packs have been. Let's just pull up the data. First, I want to go over here. Go into shop. Rebellion. I'm so excited to see tofu. I want that tofu. I still think that's going to be number one or number two in terms of the impact. I know the price doesn't show that yet, but we talked about that before. I think the price on the more recent one, like Drath, is that his name? The squirrel, flying squirrel or whatever his name is, Bulldogs one. His price is lower because there's more copies, and there's more copies because people just recently got the airdrop, which makes it a greater supply and less demand. And that's why the price is, in my mind, lower than some of the other summoners. We'll see in long term, but I like Drath and I like this one so far. We'll see how it plays out. But with respect to Rebellion, I was looking at how many packs are remaining and how many packs have been sold, and I was starting to put some thoughts together around, where this leads, because I think we can make some speculations about price points. And I've said to you before on the channel that sometimes you need the first observer of an upcoming opportunity is often the one that takes advantage of that opportunity. Like if you heard about Bitcoin when it was at 1,000, which I did, and it took me a while to get around to actually buying a Bitcoin, around 3,000 is when I started buying. You see, it's like when you hear about an opportunity is the beginning of that conversation for you to then take advantage of it. And I think we've got something to look forward to with respect to Rebellion that I think is worth looking at now. And so let's talk about that, because the number of packs that have moved and that are still in existence can tell us something about where this might go from a price point. If that sounds interesting, definitely stick around. I wonder what you guys think also. I'd love to hear thoughts in the comments around what the number of packs that have been issued and sold and are being held on Rebellion say to you about future price point. But where I want to go specifically is looking at the data on Splinter cards. And you can see that we got 82,000 circulating. That means purchased, not opened. We've got 845,000 opened, and we've got 542,000 in the DAO. And so if you add those all together, I already did, we're looking at 1.469 million, or so 1.4 million, or 146,000, or 1,469,000 that have been sold or opened so far, or that have been stored in the DAO. And so those are the packs, at least today, that are going to at some point in the future likely be open. I say likely because those DAO packs, 500,000 DAO packs, could conceivably be burnt. The DAO might make the decision to burn them. I don't think that makes sense, and I hope we don't do that. Probably at one point in the future we'll sell them, we'll stake them. I don't know, we'll give them away for different rewards or compensations for leaderboards or something like that. But we don't know that they'll be opened. Whereas the circulating supply, as well as the already open packs, of course, well, again, we don't know they'll be open either, but the open ones, 845,000, are already opened. And I bet the circulating supply of 82,000 will necessarily eventually be opened. And then you have to understand also, so that even if you assume every one of those gets open, we're at 1.5 million packs. And then we're going to sell some more between now and the end of circulation. But we're not going to sell 3 million more packs. Not going to sell anywhere near the 36% that's available. And so at this rate, we're going to be less than 2 million packs, I think, that are either in the DAO, opened, or circulating. And that puts us it gives us a number to work with respect to supply, and then we can kind of begin to parse out what that might mean for price point because of demand. And there are a variety of factors that it's not just a number of units that are available or that might be available that you would want to look at if you were trying to analyze where Rebellion prices are going to go. But that's a factor for sure. So let's start there. So if we assume that even rough numbers, like there's 1.5 million packs open in the DAO or available currently, and if we sell, I bet we only sell another 200,000 to be honest. But if you went crazy and we sold 500,000, that puts us around that 2 million mark. And so if there's that 2 million that are, let's say, available, opened, or in the DAO, and 600,000 of those will be in the DAO, I guess, 700,000, who knows? I'm actually not sure. I'm not sure how the formula works for what goes into the DAO anymore. And that would affect the numbers, and we could fine tune this even more if we got that data. But just rough numbers, call it 2 million that are going to essentially be available, open, or stored by somebody as a closed pack. And then you compare that to, interestingly, Rift Watchers. We've got 122,000 circulating, 959,000 open, and some in the DAO as well. And for that, we get a total of 1.2 million or 1.3 million circulating, open, or in the DAO. And so you can start to compare those. and say, well, you know, is the Rebellion going to be double that? 2.5? I don't think so. But if it were, you know, does that mean that Rebellion should be half the price of Riftwatcher cards? Right? That's a starting thesis or hypothesis. Maybe if there's twice as many open or circulating or DAO packs of Rebellion than there are of Riftwatchers, maybe Rebellion cards should be worth half of what Riftwatcher cards are. That's a hypothesis, and we can pull on extra pieces of data to try and go further on that conversation. I think you have to look at any outside or additional utility you might have from either Rebellion or Riftwatcher packs that could complement the use case for one or the other or both and change the story. So it's not just about supply of packs, it's also about utility. And we know that the Rebellion cards have greater utility than Riftwatchers for a couple of reasons. For one, there's conflicts. For at least a couple more months, 3 more months, we're going to have, like this month plus 2 more months, we'll have airdrops that are being paid out to pack holders as well as card holders for the Rebellion card set. And so that's an additional utility that is currently being afforded to Rebellion content holders or card holders or pack holders, etc. And those rewards change the formula around whether or not a Riftwatcher pack, or sorry, which has greater utility, Rebellion or Riftwatcher. And so this is a marker that allows Rebellion to be more expensive. And I think this is the main reason why when you come in to look at cards, you find that Rebellion have really like held their value. Look at my set. These are my card. No, yeah. Buy cards. I'm not logged in here. I'm always logged in. My Rebellion cards have really held value. Like around 1,500 is what I last saw. We'll find out today if that's still accurate. But I think it will be. There we go. Let's go to my cards and we look at Rebellion specifically. 1,700. So in fact, my Rebellion cards have really held value. I think I paid $1,500 for my Rebellion cards. And so we've gone up a little, but frankly, nothing that couldn't disappear tomorrow, because, you know, a few of my cards might be selling at, you know, at a certain high price today, and then tomorrow they're not, and that affects the overall price point. So anyways, they've held value this entire time. I think they will continue to hold value so long as Rebellion airdrops are being paid out, because that is a huge utility that goes towards those cards. But that's not going to last forever. It's going to be 3 more months. That's one consideration that is currently buoying Rebellion price. And another would be that Rebellion will be in the Modern League longer, right? Hang on, let me make sure that that's accurate. It is, right? Yeah, because Riftwatchers is like part of the Chaos Legion. Yeah. And so Riftwatchers will disappear from the Modern League sooner than Rebellion. And that, I don't know if that's a year sooner, probably, I guess, right? Something like that, maybe. And that gives an additional type of utility to the Rebellion card assets as well as packs. Maybe it means, you know, I don't know. The data, you could really dive deep on this too, and I haven't prepared these numbers, but you know that the last we heard from Matt, there was like, I think 60 or 70,000 accounts playing in Wild, and there was like 3,000 accounts playing in Modern. It might have been a little more on the Modern side, but you know, we've seen a reallocation of that ever since they implemented permit passes. But we're still probably, I imagine, like less than 5,000 accounts playing in Wild, or sorry, in Modern. And so there's a relatively small amount of accounts that are going to provide that demand, that are going to really enjoy that Modern only card set. But that is a pressure that makes Rebellion more desirable, and will make it Rebellion more desirable than Riftwatchers in the medium to longer term. So those are factors that sort of point us towards believing that Rebellion should carry value, at least in the medium term. But then there's other factors such as we talked about. Rebellion will have, more will end up being printed in greater degree than Rift Watchers. Another conversation is like which set has better cards, and that's going to be an opinion thing. But I would say Rebellion is more powerful, especially the Summoners. It's bigger. It's a bigger account or a bigger card set, and I would argue that they're more powerful. And then I think with those considerations in sort of your back pocket, I think it makes sense to pop in and look at the price differentials of some of these cards. You go into the buy and you just look at them now. Where are they currently? Like if we go into Rebellion, and let's just grab legendaries, for instance. We just look at legendaries, Rebellions, look at regular foils. They're starting in that $3 range, and let's open this window over here and we'll do Rift Watchers legendaries. Go buy, Rift Watcher, regular foil, legendary. And so we're high bid of $1 for Runemancer. Let's look at three of the really impressive legendary cards from each set. And we'll look at them from regular foil as well as gold foil. And I want to speculate about what we might be able to predict from a price point standpoint, because I think there's an opportunity wrapped in all this data that leads us to project certain directions up or down on price points. And that might allow us to make decisions that could financially benefit us. Before I look at the three from each, I want to check out the chat, see if you guys are saying anything. Paul says we should get over 1 million. We should get over 1 million, which is between beta and untamed. I see. So you're comparing it between beta and untamed, but then you're not looking at the DAO packs in that context, I think. Without DAO, it's less than 1 million. Yeah. State of Survival, Rebellion Summoners may turn out. Do you guys, with both of you making that comment around without the DAO, don't you believe that those will somehow reach market? I'm inclined to, let's put it this way. If you were buying a limited asset, like a car that was, super mint and beautiful and special and, limited issuance, and there's only a few copies, only a few of its kind and caliber, but then there was like 1,000 of them sitting in some factory somewhere in perfect mint condition, and they're promised not to come on marketplace, you would have to let that factor into the conversation around scarcity, even if you thought they're never going to come to market. So I kind of want to say, I think we ought to think of the DAO packs as if they are possible circulating supply. State of Survival, Rebellion Summoner may turn out to be the most expensive in the game. Yeah, I agree. Lack of sales on packs just means less cards available for that set, which means rarity and scarcity, we don't notice it yet. I think there's a real argument in there, and that absolutely needs to be brought to the conversation. So that's part of it too. Caliber of card is important. It's not okay to say there's twice as many Rebellion, and so Rebellion is going to be half as much as Rift Watcher. It depends on the card utility, and part of the card utility is the length of time in Modern, like I said, but also the caliber of the card, like you're pointing to, and like you're pointing to. So as Mont's saying, it's going to be something like the Untamed. Yeah, Modern will be interesting. Chaos Legions. Modern will be interesting when Chaos Legion moves out. It's going to be a totally different vibe because many people don't even have Rebellion yet. And when this new set comes out, what's happening with the crypto price points? Is Rebellion out of circulation probably when the next when SPS soars? Is it while Rebellion is currently selling in the next 3 months, or is it after that? Because that'll really do something from a price standpoint and a new gameplay design. Because when the next set launches in, I don't know, is it a year? I don't think it's 2 years. I don't really know, and I don't think they've said. We know the new Soulbounds are coming out soon, but I don't think it's going to be crazy long before we see that next set. Okay. International Travel Channel, good to see you too. Guten Tag. Good morning to you, right? Good day to you. That's what it means. Gathering, good to see you. Rebellion over twice the size of Rift. Yeah, but depends again on how you approach the DAO packs and also caliber of cards. So, okay, with all those things said, love the comments, guys. Thank you. Keep it coming. If there are certain cards from Rift Watchers, like a Legendary, I'm going to grab 3 from Rebellion and from Legendary. I want to look at 3 of the most impactful Legendaries and speculate on how this card supply what that'll tell us about it. if we just scroll down and see the most expensive, we could look at summoners. Summoners is not fair because the summoners from Rebellion are way better, right? What is the Riftwatcher summoner even? Do they have? They don't have summoners? There you go. Oh, no, they do. I knew they did. But these compared to, even Ilthane, come on now. Like yes, it's kind of cool to have 4 mana, but these don't compare, man. This is not even, so we'll stay away from summoners. I'm going to come back to legendaries. You know what? Let's look at the three most expensive legendary monsters. Yeah. Okay. So we'll look at the 3 most expensive legendary monsters from each set. Okay, so Venka the Vile, Rage, and Darg versus Inevitable, Immolition, and Agor. Is that a fair line in the sand? I'm trying to do an analysis here that allows us to really come away with some conclusions. And I haven't done this before. It's not like pre-thought through. So I'm trying to pick a sample that makes sense. In some sense, if you grab the top 3 versus the top 3, that makes sense. But also, pricing on Rebellion is more in flux than pricing on Riftwatchers, because Riftwatchers is already closed and been closed for a while, and Rebellion is currently ongoing. But still, I think this is as good a line in the sand as any. So Inevitable $23 per 11. That's a big drop off. Is that card supply or is that utility? So there's 3,800 Inevitables, there's 4,200 Immolitions, and 10,000 aggro longtails. Whoa, that's a huge difference in supply. Versus, see, these card supplies are going to be all wonky. 4,500, 52, 4,500. The card supplies are not comparable, so that's tricky. What are we looking at price-wise? Venka's at 20, low buy 20, versus Inevitable 23. So those cards are so different. Let's start there, though. I wish they were more comparable cards. Inevitable, a main tank. No, I don't want to compare that to anything else. Yeah, okay. So Venka the Vile, I think, carries its greatest utility because of its application against the meta. Meaning the charge and the, what's the other thing called? Well, charge in combination with a press is very powerful. Especially since weapons training has changed how often we see non-attacking monsters be put in the main tank position. And so I think Venka's price is largely from a utility standpoint as a counter to the meta. That's worth noting. It doesn't mean we can't analyze this. Whereas Inevitable has got that main tank stability or that main tank offering. And at the higher levels, the interesting thing about this too is like main tank with support, which is kind of crazy. With that triage and the strengthen and allowing, for instance, a taunter from the back line, which on the white team we know we've got the, what's it called? I forget its name right now, but you know the one that has Martyr. I would have thought that these cards would be less expensive in comparison to Rebellion. At this moment, I would have thought the most expensive Rebellion legendary, Riftwatcher legendary, would be less expensive, significantly less expensive than the most expensive Rebellion card. Because utility right now with airdrops. And as I'm surprised by that price point differential or similarity, let's say price point similarity. And Venka's got 4,500 units versus 4,500 units or 4,000 units, which is pretty close. It makes me wonder if Riftwatchers is undervalued or Rebellion is overvalued. But I think something has to change. I think that's the thesis I'm putting together in my mind. something is going to change because a lot of the value proposition for Rebellion will shrink and deteriorate over the next few weeks and months, which should either mean Rebellion is overpriced and will drop in price, or that Rift Watchers will rise. Rift Watchers is currently undervalued and will rise in price because it's maybe being ignored because of flexibility. People are buying into Rebellion, spending their money there to try and take advantage of airdrops and conflict battles. Whereas if all things were considered equal and there were no conflict battles, which we know there will be no more conflicts in the near future because there's not another conflict planned, that should point us to no unusual buying incentives on one pack over another. And you would think if they're all in modern, one would be more inclined to buy the greater utility for the less value. And so I kind of think, based on pack supply, more of Rebellion than Rift Watchers, based on short-term sort of functionality and usefulness, short-term meaning a year, you probably see a price increase on some Rift Watcher cards when there's a removal of certain buying incentives from the Rebellion side. Either that, or the Rift Watchers holds its value in a better way, but maybe stays stagnant than the Rebellion, which would, in a sense, be the same outcome, meaning Rift Watcher is probably over the next 6 months to 9 months going to be the better hold, either because it's going to go up in value because there'll be a removal of buying incentives from Rebellion, or that Rift Watchers will stay stagnant, but it'll stay stagnant while other assets such as Rebellion, which have been stagnant and have held strong and maybe even gone up, will stop going up because they've lost greater utility. So I'm wondering if this is a conversation in a moment to think through if there's cards that you would want and find value in holding and start making those moves. Specifically to me, that falls in that Rift Watcher place because of supply, because of current access in the modern, because of these cards are quite powerful, and because I think they're being overlooked right now. So I don't know if you guys feel that, one, this kind of hypothesis makes sense, and that if so, two, like which of the theories do you think Rift Watchers goes up as Rebellion loses some of its functionality with respect to conflicts, or do you think that Rift Watchers actually stay stagnant? But I think we have to agree Rebellion loses value, right? I assume we all agree with that. There's no, in my mind, and I've heard some people argue that Rebellion will go up after it's out of circulation. I don't really buy that. So those are my thoughts on this. I think this is a moment where talking this through can get us to a place of being able to take advantage of this a moment that's coming. We're probably 12 weeks away from this moment transpiring. So I think Rebellion holding at this moment is great for airdrops. It's problematic from a US dollar standpoint. Moving 16 weeks out, I think you see a loss. Now, loss is maybe not the right word because it'll be a paper loss. It doesn't have to be you don't have to log that loss because you don't need to sell the unit. You can just keep using it and enjoying the card. And then, maybe we go 18 months out and we see that Rift Watchers slips out of modern, and then you're in a different conversation because Rift Watchers loses value at that time, I would argue. And so this is a moving target, and it depends on depends on how you're building your deck. It depends on what your timelines are, and it depends on maybe how you weigh some of these variables. But it seems like to me, this is a conversation that can and should put certain people in a driver's seat for certain decisions that could be financially helpful. And so I'm not entirely sure where I land on it yet, but I'm inclined to say I would like to start buying Rift Watcher cards. That's ultimately where this brings me. That's ultimately where this brings me, because I think some of these cards, which I don't have, like I don't have Inevitable. I think I have a level 2 Inevitable. I don't think I have an Immolition at all. Agor I have maxed out. Some of these supplies, though, are kind of wild. Like 10,000 Agors is totally different than some of those. How is that possible, by the way? Why is there almost 11,000 Agor Longtails? And then we look at We go look at Immolation and there's only 4,200. And C-Rec, why is there so many more Agors than C-Rec? 10,000 Coral Lurkers. Is it because this one was an airdrop? I'm forgetting now which ones were airdrops. Maybe that's what it was. But anyways, I'm starting to feel, and I have actually for several months, that Rift Watchers is an asset that's being overlooked and needs, makes sense to look at. And I only superficially scratched the surface with respect to the legendaries, but I think we know full well that the rares from the Rift Watcher set were amazing, and frankly, many of them could have been epics. So there again, there's maybe a conversation in there too. And commons, there's some really powerful ones. I don't think I have a Max Dumok Exile. I really like the Arachne Thug. If you don't have it, I'd recommend get it. I never maxed out my Night Ghoul. I don't think I even have a Max Bramble. I think I have like a level 8 or something like that. My Ash Mirage is one level away from full. So to me, Rift Watchers is a place where I want to start paying more attention. And I wonder if you guys agree. I'm going to check out the comments. Jester Rago, good to see you, buddy. Jester, I believe we've had conversations back in the day. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are you the person that is the center of that card, that old card? Is it called Jester? No. What's that? There's an archer from the Death Splinter from the Wild set. It might be rare. That's probably what went wrong. Yeah. Is this your card? Yes or no? Let's go back to comments. Inevitable as a Beast says Gathering. Don't use promos to comp. That's a good point. You're right, brother. That is so. Yeah, unpack. And Izzyar is Gathering dropped the name of that martyr card. Izzyar was the one I couldn't remember. But yeah, promo. You would want to, if you were to do a deep dive on what I just tried to superficially cover, you would want to make sure you're not covering promos. Inevitable is a promo. Thank you for that. Gathering says Rift is way undervalued. I think yeah. So undervalued. You would believe that they're going to go up in price. I think long term they are going to go up in price. Everything's on timeline. In my mind, if we blow this out 4 years, I think these prices are ridiculously low. But then 3 to 9 months, what's going to happen? Because I think there's a wave that we can ride in that window. I think either Rift Watcher holds its value better than Rebellion in the next 3 to 9 months, or it goes up in value in a way that is better than Rebellion. I might be wrong about that, but that is where I'm pointing towards. Check the second and third most valuable legends. The set cost is so much cheaper. Take a look at the set prices. Yeah, can you see set prices on Splinter cards, or how do you actually see that? Because I know that you can just see how much does it cost to get a full max. I heard the other day it's like $600 to get a max Chaos Legion set, which is bananas. Like, I know there's a lot of Chaos Legion cards, but I'm saying, I would buy more of it. I know that people think there's too much Chaos Legion, and they don't, they wouldn't want to bother with it if they. I don't agree. I think long term, even Chaos Legion is going to see a place of great growth. That's my expectation. Close that one. Boom. Dehota, good to see you, brother. It was fun listening to you have a chat with those guys, Stever and Jangles and Fat Jimmy. State is right, although more fun this way. State talking about the set costs is so much cheaper. Take a look at the set cost. Is that what you're agreeing with? Dehota says, although Rift Watchers is moving towards wild and out of modern. I know that's got to be factored into the conversation, but I'm not entirely sure long term 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. How much does the conversation around wild versus modern matter in terms of card price point? I know right now it deeply matters because we have probably 5,000 human players and they only play so much and they only have so much money. But if we really survive and get to a place where we have 50,000 players, 500,000 players, and that's possible. Now, it's not certain, but it's possible. I really don't think we have the same problem from card supply perspective that we currently do. And that means things like Chaos Legion, which feels so excessive in card supply, and reward cards that were overprinted get to a place where they are inadequate in supply. And we've seen it before. If you look at the Chaos Legion cards even, and you go like, how many max copies could be sold? I forget what it works like, but it's like, 1,000 max copies of some of these cards. It's like, yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot. 10 million divided by 400. What does that equal to? Because that's, I think the commons were like 10 million. Yeah, that's 10 million divided by 400 per BCX or per max. So 25,000 copies of a max copy card for like some of those Chaos Legion cards. Yeah, it's a lot of max copies, and not every card is going to be max. And you go, if you cut that in half, it's 50,000. That's a big number, Dwayne. Yes, but again, do we actually think that this game can have legs for the next 20 years, and that it might actually have a sort of a growing community of not just players but collectors, and that 25,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 copies of a card is not enough if you start recognizing that there'll be certain people will have multiple accounts, and some will just hold them and rent them, and some will just put them onto land, and some will just, and land will keep growing in terms of how much it absorbs. But it does depend. Like a lot of that has to, at its core, depends on whether or not there's going to be that player-based growth and sustainability with the game and the company, not just disappearing. And those are not 0% chances that those things will go wrong, right? There's some percent chance that this goes haywire. But to me, and I think most of you, we're walking in a great degree of confidence that it's going to go the right way. That we are going to be there. We are going to see player-based growth. I don't know if we think it's going to be 10x, 100x, 1000x, but player-based growth. And if we saw, from moving from 5,000 to 10,000 players, I think that we see it. That has a big footprint on what we see from a finance perspective. And if we look at the data where Matt said there's 100 people signing up for the game, and we can see that data within Peak Monsters under Explore, dashboard, new player signups, 94, 86, like 90 to 100 people signing up for the game. But then 1, 2 of them, 5 of them, 1 of them, like almost none of them signing up for a spellbook. If there gets to be any new stickiness, like a 10% sign up rate, like I don't mean a sign up, but a 10% spellbook rate, you're talking like 9 or 10 spellbooks a day. That's like 900% more than what we're currently experiencing. If you got 10 new players a month, a day, 300 a month across a year, that would really impact the finances of this game. And that's, I think, setting a really ridiculously low bar. You go through moments where if that was the background sort of white noise of new player development and growth, that would be awesome right now. You'd be happy to see that, right? If we got 10 new real players that were actually investing and getting excited about this, that'd be really great. But that's such a small hope, right? 300 new players a month would be awesome. And yet it's such a small, trivial desire and hope. What about 100 new players a day? That's absolutely possible. And so I just think some of these resources are going to be, they're overlooked right now. Rift Watchers is part of that story. And I think it's easy to make an argument for Rift Watchers because the supply is relatively low. The cards are relatively strong. They are still currently in Modern. So there's a lot of sort of pros that lean towards pointing that way. But even things like Chaos, I think you can make arguments for their improved price. Daniel says there are 2 fire sales on the land market right now. Land from $10 US per plot. Wow. I want to go have a peek at that and see what sort of regions they're in. Gathering, if we do get a huge new player influx at some point, where are the cards going to come from? Even 500 new players who invest in cards will be hard pressed to build their decks. This is it. And Some will say, to Gathering and myself, that we're not going to get 500 new players to sign up and just throw money at the game. I think it's very possible. And I think it probably almost necessarily happens when we see SPS price spike, because I really believe that carrot on that stick is dramatic. Like if SPS goes from 0.6 of a penny to 6 cents, that's the sort of thing that grabs people's attention. And that transforms the reward structure of the game in a meaningful way where I'm getting 8 SPS per win in Gold 1 in Modern. 8 SPS at 6 cents is 40, is that 48 cents? I think so. Yeah, 48 cents. 48 cents per win is pretty awesome because it adds up to probably, $10 a day. $10 a day is more than most people make in the world. So that sort of things drives attention, and it's this self-fulfilling prophecy because people get excited about the prices going up, so they buy the token, which drives the prices higher, which makes people excited about the token going up, which makes people buy it because they're excited about it going up. It's this self-fulfilling prophecy. It's also this, it's almost this, good leads to good in these things, and that's why moments of crazy green candles happen so rapidly. It's not this slow, steady progression. The slow, steady progression is the fall. That takes a very long time because there's a few people who hold on, maybe tomorrow, and then they drift away because they get tired. And this is why, like years ago, I'm trying to go through some of my old content on the channel, by the way, because I want to find some old clips where I talk about this kind of thing. But I'll tell you now, I know for a fact I used to talk about in the next bear market. This was during the bull market. In the next bear market, I know many of you will leave. And I'll still quietly be here doing my collections and my claiming and my enjoyment and my accumulation of assets that are trivial in nature and that will, across time, have an opportunity to radically change my financial life. And I'm doing that. I'm living that out. And I've seen it happen, and you've seen it happen, whether it's around the player base, the lack of new signups, or whether the people, certain accounts that are selling cards and you see their names on Peak Monsters, or whether, it's different content creators that have fallen by the wayside, some of whom are friends and I still talk to, but like it's not in that capacity any longer. You know what I mean? It's like, this has always been, this is the norm. There's these finite, brief, fleeting moments of like great success in cryptocurrency or any sort of investment opportunity. And then there's moments of like boredom, and in the boredom, people fall away. But those of us who accumulate during that period of boredom have that opportunity to enjoy that finite and fleeting moment. And I think it's coming. The HODA rebellion going up will depend on how well the marketing campaign goes in Q4. Yeah, okay. I do agree with that a little bit. So the HODA, I would say, okay, so first of all, we've heard Matt talk about the marketing campaign and the hopes that we want to increase the stickiness of those 100 signups turning into, a new player experience, an actual new player. And if that happens, and I believe it will happen, they've already started improving things like mobile. I did a video recently where I showed how mobile has gotten better. And so if we increase that stickiness and then we start to push the marketing, and I think we create incentives for community members such as myself to create content in ways that drive eyeballs towards the game, I think there's a real probability that we see growth of player base, and it will come out of marketing. But the stickiness has to happen first, otherwise the marketing falls flat. And then if that happens, and if we see, like Gathering said, even 500 new players, that transforms the price points of things in a radical way. And I do believe they'll start to, that will, more than anything else though, these are interesting side conversations, like what Gathering saying, what would it look like if 500 new players came? Interesting conversation. And Dakota saying, what would it look like if the marketing campaign really was successful? Interesting topics. But at the core of the conversation for how Splinterlands gets to some place radically, powerfully, revolutionary different, where it might actually retire people, it's going to be where SPS goes from 0.6 of a penny to even 5 cents at this point, 6 cents. Like, I think that starts conversations that that absolutely drive new investment, because that's not going to happen in isolation, by the way. So that drives eyeballs, that drives storylines, that markets itself, that creates new player drive based growth by itself, because, hey, I want to chase after those. So that is at the core of our success. But then add to that, recognize that SPS isn't going to 10x in isolation. When SPS is 10xing, most of the other altcoins are going to be 10xing. And so if you have green candles everywhere, everyone's favorite bags are going up, that easily lends to, well, you know, I've 10x'd on this other project. I'm willing to move a little around, and hey, I heard about this Splinterlands thing. And that's where movement starts to compound, and 10x's turn to 100x's. And we're so small too, by the way. Like, I was looking at it the other day, the market cap on SPS is so minuscule. SPS, $600,000 market cap. That's ridiculous. Like, it's so, and I'm not a huge proponent of market cap as a sort of a deep, let's say, meaningful place of analysis for how big your token can get. Like, some people will go, you know, if Bitcoin has a $1 trillion market cap, then ETH will never have it, or XRP can never have it. I don't agree. I don't really think market cap is understood in a really meaningful way. And I think we need to really take it with a grain of salt. But I do think when you're at a $600,000 market cap, you have to know that there's so much room for, the ceiling is like, you're nowhere near the ceiling. The opportunity for growth is in a crazy place. So I don't think a 10x it's so easy. So that's interesting. Like, the marketing, the few new players just organically signing up, those are interesting. But when SPS starts taking off, maybe because the marketing, or maybe it's a chicken or egg, right? To me, it doesn't matter what gets us there. But I think the line in the sand is SPS making a 10x, and then the broader economy doing that 10x, which then causes increased liquidity to just flow around, slosh around, and chase after projects that are doing well. Steam monsters haven't been here for so long, having succeeded and survived bear markets, will be a place of attraction for some of that money. And I think that'll be exciting to watch. Gathering says, shh, don't talk about the land. I need to take advantage of that. State of survival. I think Rebellion Summoners might stay the same price. Rebellion Summoners might stay the same price. Let me think that through. Rebellion. Yeah, I could see that. Oh, I'm getting a knock at the door. 1 second, guys.
I need some ants.
What?
Ants?
There's a little, nope. There's right on the sink behind the rack. There's a Tupperware with one ant in it. No. Bye. Sorry about that, guys. I had a gentle knock at my door, and I knew it was probably my wife, and I was right, it was. Rebellion Summoners holding value. I think that makes sense to me, because, well, for one thing, they're uniquely powerful. For two things, they'll be in modern for a long time. For three things, I actually don't think their price point is unreasonable when you look at the comparative Rebellion cards. Let's just spend a minute on that, because I think it's worth noting. I do think, even though I implied Rebellion cards are probably either overpriced or done growing for the medium term, which I think is true, I don't think the Summoners are done sort of having demand. They're too good. They're going to be in modern for too long, and their prices are reasonable. Like, I mean, this is not an expensive card. You know, there's only 10 copies of a Kane, by the way. There's only 10 cards on the market, and the price is $13 per BCX. Like, that's ludicrously low for an excellent card that has 10 copies on the market. So, and look at the price escalate quickly too, by the way. You know, one person could buy all of those, and it wouldn't even cost that much. Go boom, 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 boom. That's all of the ones that are in the $15 range. If you bought all of those, you'd get them for $214. And then the next price point is $20. This is one of those moments where if you had like a good amount of money, you could just come in here and card flip. Because I would argue like buying that would move the floor at least to $17, right? Now, maybe I'm wrong because maybe there would be some of this other card supply that would come to the marketplace and compete with you at that 17 price point. But this is a digression. I think there might be opportunities in here for card flipping, but I would say that I generally speaking agree with your suggestion that the Rebellion Summoners are probably uniquely valuable as compared to the Rebellion cards. Not to say they're not valuable, but to say that a lot of their price point is probably inflated because of their utility within conflicts. Rift Watchers will be known as a forgotten set, small but powerful. Yeah, I mean, I'm only hesitating to agree with you from the perspective of I'm not sure they're going to be forgotten. I think they're going to have their quiet and powerful place in the meta of the game, and it's going to be Wild. But man, Wild is doing fine. Wild is doing fine, and the rewards over there are not inconsequential. They're not nothing. Okay, so I'm using my bot in Wild, and this was my 7 hours ago. I got a win. Didn't battle me. Let's go here. 4.8 SPS. And I didn't have to spend my time and attention to unlock that. I bought my assets. I turned on the bot. And now some of that goes to XBot because they take a portion of your SPS earnings or whatever. But you do have to weigh the effort versus the ease. And so, the Wild content is paying significant rewards, and it's important to understand that those cards that, I think we look at Wild as if it's like the crappy place to play. And maybe right now that's more real and true. Because for one thing, not everybody has alphas and betas. And so you go in there and then sometimes those cards, they beat you because somebody just essentially has more money than you. That can be annoying. So that's one reason why Wild is not as good as Modern. And another is that the rewards aren't as good. And another is that, I have to play against bots. And another is, so there's lots of different reasons. But ultimately speaking, as those of you who have come into this game during Chaos Legion or now during Rebellion or whenever in the future, you're going to find that sometime beyond that point, sometime in your future, from when you start, you get to a place where you have a fortified and developed and meaningful card deck. And you're not going to look at Wild in the same way that you do now. Because a lot of the time, some of the alphas and betas that might have been able to trump you in moments of the past have become less and less relevant even today with Untamed being in the Wild. And then I think as we see Rebellion come into the Wild and Rift Watchers come in these other card sets come into the Wild, it's going to be less and less often that you really get annoyed by, oh, I can't have that card and I can't afford that card and I can't have fun in Wild. And, that's a piece of it for sure. Plus, real player base growth will transform some of this too. And if you start seeing price appreciation on some of these key cards that you've bought that are Chaos Legion or that are Untamed or that are, Rift Watcher or whatever, I think that the whole narrative could change. Right now, I think we look at Wild in a very negative light. And I don't think that narrative is going to last forever. Okay. Asmon says, for those that don't have Chaos maxed, that is the best to buy for playing value. I think you're talking Rift Watchers. Justerago, yeah, it's been a while, bro. Vilson, what's up? Justerago, I wish no cards in my name. Unfortunately not. I always thought that was you. Would be cool, though. Dehoda, Dwayne. Also look at gold foils prices, too. Yeah, I meant to. I actually was on my notes to look at the gold foils because I think gold foils are even more ignored and overlooked. So yeah, let's quickly look at the legendary gold foils. Thank you for the reminder because I did have that in my notes before I went live here. Look at the regular foils and then look at the gold foils. I was going to look at gold foils, regular foils, and legendaries all three separate, but that would probably be its I might need to do that as a separate video, as like a deep dive into this with maybe some more concise thoughts around this topic. But this is my Rebellion and this is my Rift Watcher. And look at this though, by the way, like $20. The other day I bought, I think a Max Mortius gold foil, and I think I might have paid $20 a unit. I can look at that in a moment maybe. So $24. High bid's 13, by the way. To think you could throw out a bid on some of these cards and maybe get filled. You can tell if it gets filled, by the way. You can look at, if you see the high bid was $10.10, and then you see the low buy is $10.10, or the market value is $10.10, then what that's saying is that, if there's a consistency between the high bid and the market value, that means that somebody recently filled the high bid. So let's see if we see that anywhere. No. So none of these high bids are landing, but still you never know, because somebody drops, they forget to implement they use the decimal point in the wrong spot, and suddenly you're a proud owner, or somebody's feeling desperate and they want to sell some cards they have extra access to, and then you make that money. So high bids are an interesting, powerful way. But look at this, $24 all the way 50, 40, 33, 35. So in that $40 average range, with like some exceptions, $40 average range is probably accurate. And we come over to Rebellion and we look at the legendaries. And here we're in that $100. Yeah, $125 average, with some anomalies that you can't really look to be honest. Vanka the Vile, $900 low buy. Yeah, so I mean $125 versus did we say 50? 40, 50? Yeah, I'm going to say 50. And if it's 50, by the way, if it's a $50 average and Mortius is a $24 low buy, I know that Mortius is not as good as, Rumancer Flore or Aggro Longtail or Coral Lurker or, Inevitable. But see, this is what I'm talking about. As you start to see the long-term picture of what the sort of the price points could be as compared to supply, as compared to utility, they're ultimately both going to be in wild. And I think there's an interesting argument to be made on some of these things. And this is just your legendaries. Let's look at epics. Epics from Rift needs to be the summies. Oh yeah, the summoners is a bit of a unusual. It's hard to compare these summoners to the summoners from the Rebellion, so we'll avoid that conversation. The rares, $2, $3. I'm going to say $3.50 average on the Rebellion rares versus probably $1.50, $1.25. So are the Rebellion rare gold foils worth 3x? Are they worth 3x what the Rift Watcher rares gold foils are worth? Or is that marketplace confusion? Is that an opportunity? We each gotta like sort of come to our own conclusions about these sorts of observations. But it helps. There's two things that go on in my mind when I look at this kind of data. What I'm first looking at is objective opportunity. If it's 3 times the price to get a Rebellion gold foil rare as it is to get a Rift Watcher gold foil rare, I immediately think discount. I'm thinking we got a discount on the Rift Watchers. But then you would then broaden the conversation with utility. I love some of these cards. And I told you earlier, I think these cards could probably be categorized as epics in any other set. Maybe not all of them, but Queen of Crows is in that conversation. Queen of Crows is $2.25 at per BBCX. And how many can you buy for that price? You can buy a couple. You can buy 4 probably copies for that. And I said that look at this. Again, the best Rebellions are in that $8 range. $8 range. Moxie and Rebel is like this unique standalone. So I'm not going to compare it to that, but like $7.50, $6. So Queen of Crows to me is an excellent card. It works in so many scenarios. We know that there's the archery only rule set. This one has close range. It has tank type hit points. Return fire is an amazing card. This card has a lot of usefulness even when it's not archery only. And so this is an example in my mind of if you needed this card, if you wanted it as a collectible, if you valued gold foils, you start to compare it to some of the alternatives that are out there. And you might also bring into this conversation, you could broaden the conversation further. I'm looking at Rebellion versus Riftwatcher. You might look at Untamed and start to find the spectrum, because maybe Untamed being in Wild right now and not currently in Modern, maybe that has a different price point. Let's pull that up quickly. We'll look at rares. We'll just look at rares on the Untamed. So we go rare, we go gold foil, we go Untamed. And we're $1.50 to $49. Like that, this is comparable. These price points are comparable to what we're seeing with respect to Riftwatchers. Maybe Riftwatchers is a little bit cheaper. So that tells me something about Riftwatcher price points. I think we're seeing from two different angles that at least the rare gold foils, and you might not want gold foils and you might not want rares, but I think these rares from Riftwatchers are undervalued. They're exceptional cards. They probably are equivalent to epics in any other pack or any other edition, and they're cheaper. They're significantly cheaper than Rebellion, and they're actually in the same price point to maybe even in some cases cheaper than Untamed, which is currently exclusively in the wild. So if we go, unless we think the Untamed rares are that much better, like double better, like look at the cheapest one is the Goblin Chariot, and I don't like that card, but the Goblin Chariot from the Untamed is the Scavo Technomancer is there's 4,000 Scavo Technomancers gold foiled. There's 2,100 Goblin Chariots, but I think the Goblin Chariot's a bad card, and yet the price point is double. Now, maybe you justify that double price because the supply is double. But functionally speaking, Scavo Technomancer is currently in the Modern. It is a magic card that's more powerful. It has the blast functionality. It has the blind functionality, which I often find is helpful and useful. It's neutral versus Goblin. Is Goblin... Yeah, it's neutral as well. But Chariot is like an archer with few hit... well, it's 7 hit points, not few. But this card's not as good. And so this all helps to build a picture of like where is value. And maybe this doesn't make sense to you individually because you aren't looking to build out a gold foil collection, or you don't have money to speculate on future price appreciation. But I think there's a story here, and those who pay attention can draw observations. Maybe it's in rares, maybe it's in legendaries, maybe it's in regular foils, maybe it's in... But I think something is pointing us to the fact that Riftwatchers is currently way undervalued. And that's where my head has been at for the last 6 months since the Rebellion conflicts has begun, really. Yeah, I'm pretty. That's my opinion, anyways. So you can see. Okay, so on Splinter cards, you can see the set values. Okay, I'll look that up. Okay, thanks, Wilson. Just Drago, I just bought a bunch of Chaos Legion cards recently to help work on land. Yeah, super cheap workers. Especially if you look at the Gold Foil Legendary or Gold Foil Epics, which shout out to Gathering, who pointed us that direction back when. Gathering says 115 max level Gold Foil Chaos Commons on the market. That's it. That's a low... So bringing you back to full circle to Gathering's comment earlier, if we had 500 new players and there's 115 max level gold foil chaos commons on the market, you could imagine how quickly the buying pressure of 500 new players, which we could get easily, could transform the financial, the price analysis of the cards, because the liquidity would dry up, the prices would spike, new cards would reach the market at different price targets that would be bought up, maybe, presumably, and that would start to begin to change perspectives around pricing. And he says that includes the reward cards. Wow. That is gold. He was talking about gold foils in particular, but still, to some extent that conversation is true, even of the most overpopulated cards. State of Survival at Gathering the Magic. When is your next card market video coming out? Sunday. Can't wait to see it, buddy. I found some regular foil max cards selling for more than gold foil of the same card. Regular foil max selling for more than the gold foil. Yeah, that happens sometimes. You always look to see what the price differential is. You can use Peak Monster tools to sort of do that. But when you come into do the buy, and you can organize by compare, if you don't know this, very quickly, and you can look at gold foil versus regular percent difference. And then I have to remove some of my filters. And then there you go. You start to see the Tower Griffin has a 2.6x differential between the regular foil and the gold foil, meaning it's, it would be 2.6 times as expensive to buy the regular foil. Is that right? Oh no, to buy the gold foil. My bad. But the gold foil takes fewer BCX, so you have to. There's so much complication to all this analysis. But if you start to take the time to dive deep into these things and think it all through, and then you might want to look at if you wanted the Tower Griffin, is there one copy of the card at that low price, and then there's every other copy is twice that price, and you want 10 copies? So you got to think through the fullness of it. But there's real opportunity for those who take time to think through what's in front of them. Gathering says, I'm excited to see the change in the market when new players arrive. Only a handful of new whales can wipe out the market easily. That begins the fun. Yeah. What would happen, though, in moments like that, some people might think, well, then there'd be no cards, and then there'd be this frustrating place for new players. Yes and no. There'll be no cards, and the prices go up because there would be new people that are the new weak hands. Weak hands is a relative term because they wouldn't necessarily be weak. They've held this whole time, but they would be the ones that would be willing to sell, because if you have zero supply at $1 per BCX, but then the price ascends to $2 per BCX, you might have a whole new community of people willing to sell because, yeah, $2, I could do that. Or then $2 sells, and then you get a different community of people who are willing to sell at 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And that's how card markets, just like token markets, can grow, and the supply can keep coming to market because the price grows up, and then there's new assets. This happens in the silver market. So right now there's actually less silver. I'm interested in silver bullion. It's one of my things that I invest in. I believe it's got value and it has value for thousands of years. And so I've enjoyed collecting it over the years. It's a part of my retirement plan. And I bring it up because in silver, what we find is that there's actually not enough silver being produced, meaning extracted from the ground, to meet the demand for. It's used in technology. It's used in manufacture of clothing. It's used in a lot of different things, and there's not enough being extracted from the earth to meet the demand. But there's supply that's sitting on the market that can be bought off the market cheaper than extraction of new supply. So the cost of mining is too great, so they close mines and they stop creating new supply. But then what happens is that starts to erode the existing supply. The shelves get emptier and emptier. The price goes up and up because the people who are still holding it will only sell it for higher numbers. That brings cards to market, or silver to market. And as the price changes, the new supply comes. And so it's not necessarily some people are concerned it'll hurt new players. And it won't. It'll drive prices higher. It'll make it harder to get into the game. And those of us who have been here for a while will benefit. That'll create interesting new dynamics that'll help the new player as well as hurt them in some sense. Plus, frankly, looking at things from a perspective of whether it hurts a new player or not because prices go up, we have to just understand that if the game thrives, it's going to go through these moments of up and down on price point. And so they should recognize that. And just like you and I recognize that as we got in. State of Survival, I'm slowly collecting more cards. Fusion, the new user experience was clearly the issue. Imagining sign up and getting stomped by bots game after game. No one stuck around. Yeah, that's probably largely true. I actually think that's a big part of it, but I don't really think, I think the mobile experience was a bigger issue. Because I personally, the mobile app was brutal. And trying to play on your phone was inadequate. So I think that was a bigger issue probably. Leandro says, if SPS spikes, players will come, but will SPS spike? I sure hope so. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair question. I think it does, and it will. But that's a fair question. And, time will tell. Okay. State of Survival. I just started playing again. Rented fall. I think fall the cards. Rented all the cards I was missing, and Gold League is kicking my. I'm having fun in Gold, and I have a strong deck. Maybe we'll throw up a couple games here. Gathering off to work. We'll check out the replay. Have a great one. Stay the course. Keep on forging. Have fun. Amen, brother. Appreciate you gathering. Asmon says, I asked Matt in Discord, is stickiness not part of marketing? What do you think? That's an interesting conversation. Yeah, stickiness is part of marketing. But I think Matt would respond, and I would agree, that if there are barriers, and I recently heard PJ talking, he's the CTO of Splinterlands or Steam Monsters, and he was talking on a conversation with People's Guild. Check out their channel. The People's Guild interviewed PJ, and they talked about the idea that PJ referenced a book that he had read in terms of design, website design, onboarding. And I forget the title of the book, but it was like, don't confuse me or something like that. And when we get into signing up for Splinterlands and you go, here's my email, let me play the game. Well, wait a second, there's a spell book and it costs $10. Okay, I don't even know if I like the thing. And then, this is a website and it kind of feels kind of small. I don't really know if I trust the financial connections, and me sending $10 in crypto. Is that fishy? I don't know. Like, I heard crypto was dangerous and questionable. And then, by the way, you probably want Hive Keychain, and Hive Keychain is this app, and I got to put it on it's got to be like it's got to be a site that I put like on my computer. I don't know. Is that safe? I heard that like hackers can like steal your crypto if you do things in the wrong way. I remember having questions like that I fought through, that I actually got over and got through and got me into Splinterlands. But not everyone will find answers to those questions, because some will feel friction, some will see hurdles and be deterred. And so, while improving stickiness is part of marketing, I would argue that there are certain barriers that we have unfortunately either built or at least left up. And those can be and should be pulled down before we really make a financial effort to incentivize people to come. The greater degree to which we make it easier and remove hurdles and barriers for people to come and stay, the more likely the marketing campaign will be a success. And so and by the way, the marketing campaign costs a great amount of money. And so let's put that foot forward. Let's spend that money once we've done the pre-work of removing barriers. If we're like, hey, come to my house, but by the way, there's 10 traps between your house and my house, and I hope you avoid those. Well, why don't we just go ahead and you're not likely to come, but why don't we just go ahead and remove those traps, at least some of them if we can, and so that you won't fall into those traps and you will make it to the party. Fusion, 500,000 SPS today is worth $3,000. It goes back just to 5 cents. That's $25,000 US dollar, huge upside potential. Absolutely, man. I am very inclined to just make a huge move in SPS right now. And I do have a lot of money in other crypto and other assets that makes me seriously consider just buying 100,000 SPS like today or this week or something. I've often said I want to get 1 million SPS, and that's not going to happen by accident. It's going to happen intentionally through accumulating by playing, my battles and trying to get as many free SPS as I possibly can. But buying some more is going to be part of that picture. And when you point to 500,000 SPS being $3,000, and yes, I think 5 cents is super possible. And that's a crazy financial return, like just crazy. So that's exciting, Fusion. And for those, someone said earlier, like SPS, if SPS goes up, it'll drive player base growth, but will it grow up? And I mean, I just point to what Fusion is saying. I think we can step away from try to be as objective as possible and just say, how hard would it be for our token with a $600,000 market cap to just 10x? 6 million is nothing, man. 6 million is like still a micro cap. And that would be huge for us who are here. Plus, I think it drives excitement in the community. I don't think I'm pointing toward the moon. I'm just pointing and saying like a little bit of forward progress could really go somewhere. And we saw Gathering the Magic earlier drop the comments about how big 500 new players would do, and talk about the card supply in the marketplace and what if you imagine that the card supply just erodes, disappears, evaporates, what that would do to card prices, and then maybe card rentals, and then suddenly driving new eyeballs and attention, and it's an advertising campaign in and of itself. So I don't think I'm pointing toward the moon and saying like, man, if we get to the moon, we can go to Mars. To me, it's like I'm pointing like right in front of us, some sort of minor growth, 300 new players a month. It would be 10% spellbook signups out of the people who are already signing up for the game. 10 a day, 300 a month, 3,000 a year. That would be such a bananas impact on the finances. So I feel like this is so reasonable. Like I feel like the growth we're imagining or envisioning is so possible and so simple. I see SPS market cap at 8.4. Okay. I'm just looking on Live Coin Watch. I don't know if they're off in some respect. Maybe they aren't calculating all the SPS. Maybe they're only looking at SPS that's liquid or something. I don't know. But I'm just using Live Coin Watch. Let me look at Coin Market Cap. This is the problem too with market cap. Like, how do you calculate market cap? Is it, does it include the SPS, the tokens that are held by the team? Does it include tokens that are held in escrow for, long-term savings, like XRP does that? I don't know. And like I said earlier, I don't really think market cap tells us too much anyways. It's just a little bit of an interesting benchmark. So circulating supply. Market cap. Yeah, 8.4 million according to Coin Market Cap. Look at this, 24-hour volume on SPS, $38,000. $38,000. And if there were 500 new players that stepped in and needed to buy $100 or $1,000 worth of SPS, and we're willing to, and that's, again, I'm not talking about, third world participants. I'm talking about like a few crypto heads who are like, yeah, like, okay, I'm willing to give this a shot now. It's like put $1,000 towards SPS, 500 of them. That would move the needle. 500, like, whoa, that would just do something crazy to price. So no matter whether we're looking at $8 million market cap according to Coin Market Cap, or whether we're looking at Live Coin Watch and what they suggest, regardless, we're still so small. It's already been an hour and a half. I'm going to shoot for another half an hour here, guys. And then I'm going to pop away and get some lunch. Eli, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Things are good, man. I said earlier in the first beginning of the conversation, like new adopted child is doing great. Let's put it this way, actually. He's doing really well. And, you know, there's ways I see him growing. That's maybe what I'd say, because it's hard. It's hard for him. It's hard for us, but he's awesome. We love him. And the kids are doing great. State of survival. The problem is getting money into the game. Not many people are crypto savvy. Wiring money works. Yeah, you're right. This is one of the hurdles, one of the barriers, one of the challenges that prevent the onboarding of new players and the spending of value in the system. The more we get sort of beyond that point, making it more convenient and tearing down those barriers and burdensome walls, the more likely we are to see that stickiness grow. Paul, has anyone outlined which soulbound cards you are going to unlock, if any? Yeah, I haven't really looked at that, to be honest. I haven't looked at that at all. Let me see. Let's try and spend like 5 or 10 minutes talking about soulbounds. Okay, so chaos, reward. I wish I could just click soulbound. But I know we can see the chain anyways. Let's look at legendaries. I don't have a max Izzyr. I will max out Izzyr. I don't care about Tenacious Hulk at all. I could see myself selling it. Like, who plays Tenacious Hulk? I never see this card in play, by the way. Like, I never run into it. This card is so meh, in my opinion. Even at max. Ooh, at max you get one more melee? Wow. Let's go. One more hit point? Yee. Watch out. Like, it's like, okay, sure, you got void armor. You're quite resilient. Still. Shatter is so prevalent. If green is in play, then the Shatter Void summoner, whose name I'm forgetting, is in play. I just don't like this card. I think it's bad. I think it's a bad card. Ava Undaunted. I like this card. I use it quite a bit because of the weapon training. Well, maybe I use it sometimes. Barracks I use quite a bit. I'm one away from maxing it out. So actually, you know what? I'm going to open, after we're done talking a little bit about this, I'm going to open some packs. I haven't done that in a while. I would love to get these ones maxed. I'd love to get Izzyr and Barracks leveled up. Oh, I have a level 3 Skok. What are my gold foils? Does that change anything? No, it doesn't. So I'm going to, I don't think I've got any extras to really sell from my legendaries at least. So I don't think I'll unlock any of them. I'm just going to buy some to max them. And frankly, I don't need, it would be cool to have them unlocked and maybe one day sell them. But frankly, I think I'm only going to be considering that for cards I have extras of. Like, I've got a level 5 Noah the Just. I've got a level 2 regular foil. I could see myself maybe unlocking some of this stuff and selling it if there's some value in there. For the epics, that could be possible. I don't think rares or commons are going to sell for significantly high. It might make sense from a long-term investment standpoint for cards like Izzyr to unlock it because, it is going to be a really powerful card that's going to probably have a good value long-term. And you want to unlock them sooner than later. But having said all of that, it's not like I have 20 extra copies. And so I'm not likely going to sell my last copy. And therefore, I think that changes. I'll probably unlock 3 of these Usets because I have a max copy. That's my logic. That's my approach. A few of these Phyrexias, even if the value isn't necessarily super high. I've got quite a few, some extra rares, like really kicking around. But is a rare Dampier Infiltrator going to command a significant price point? I don't think so. I think it's going to be quite minor. So, summoners. You know what? I'm going to unlock my extra summoners. This is my final thought on that is I'm going to unlock any of my extra summoners that I don't necessarily need. Here I have a max level Lob Lowland who is in regular foil. I will unlock that. I will look at the price point to unlock my Lob Lowland gold foil max, but I probably wouldn't sell that. So I probably won't spend it. But I will unlock my extra soulbound summoners because summoners are too desirable, too powerful, too long-term necessary that they carry that usefulness and functionality. I would say I want them to be sellable. And I have extras of some of them. And then I will unlock any epics or legendaries or maybe rares, probably not commons, that I think are really powerful, impactful, and I have extras of. I will not unlock my last copy because I will not sell my last copy. And so that'll be my approach. And with that said, let's go buy some reward packs. I'm up to 3 million glint. I do want to save for the next reward set. But there's no doubt about it that I want to get those last legendaries. I'm going to open 30 of the ultimate chests and I'll open 30 of the legendary draws. Boom. 30 ultimates. Let's go. Reveal all. Come on, let's see something crazy. Oh yeah, energy too. I should have made sure all my energy was spent. Oh yeah, but look at all this crazy energy. The cool thing is though that my energy stacks beyond 50, right? Anything good besides energy? Some cool merits. 7,000, 8,000 merits, 10,000 merits. Nothing particularly special there. Okay. Let's get the other one. Legendary draws. This is just legendary cards, right? Yeah. 30. Hang on a second. Oh, I can only get 10? Okay, well, I'll get 10. Come on. Give me what I want. Come on, Izzyar. Come on, please look at that. I love that gold. I love that shiny gold. Come on, Izzyar. Gold foils, please. Gold foils would be so wild. I think I have a max Sturgis already. That's too bad. Come on, gold foil, gold foil, gold foil. Okay, Ava. I'm getting the ones that I don't want out of the way. So now we can get the Izzyar. Come on. Or the blue guy. Oh my goodness. These are like the three that I... First of all, my Ava's maxed out. Second of all, I think my Sturgis is maxed out. Third of all, Tenacious Hulk is the one I said I like literally hate the most. Come on, let's go. This is it. Okay, I needed that. That might actually be level 4. Dry bone, and dry bone is a good one. Come on, come on, come on. Yes! Is that my max Izzyar? That might be the max Izzyar. Let's keep going. Okay, I was actually curious if I could double, like I wasn't sure if this was an Avis, could any of these other ones be Avis? Come on, let's see. Come on, another Izzyar. Give me what I want. Okay, I already have a max Soriel, I think, and he's kind of whatever in my opinion, but still. No more Tenacious Hulks. I'll consider it a win. Okay, this is a good card. I'm okay with having extra copies of an excellent card. Okay, Barracks. I think I might have been a level 4 now. Let's see something different. Okay, I do already have a max Phyrexia, so that doesn't necessarily help me, but that's okay. So let's see if Drybone maxed out. Let's see if Izzyar maxed out. Let's see if Barracks maxed out and Soriel. Okay, let's go over there. Cards. So max Phyrexia already with 5 extra copies. Oh, that was my max Soriel. Check that out. That mattered. That Soriel just maxed me out. That's great. I'll take it. So we're going from 3. I like this new. This is way better, by the way, because it didn't used to show you this change. This is important. Visually speaking, for me to know, I'm going from 2 damage to 3 damage, and we got the double. Yeah, that's a big upgrade, man. That moves that card from, interesting to significant. That's a big upgrade. This is one of my favorite cards, by the way, from an art perspective. I think it looks full of action. It's really thematically appropriate, like with the fire team. Yeah, I like that one. I was super hoping for another Kulu, but that's okay. My Ava was full. My Tenacious is still not full, and I don't care. See, I do. My Avis already was full, and Izzyar is not full. We need 3 more Izzyars. Wow. It's like the computer knows how powerful Izzyar. Oh, look at that though. Barracks is full now too. Let's see what this change looks like. So we get 1 more archery damage. That's a big deal for the weapon train. Adjacent unit with no attack gain. Units attack up to a maximum of 3. Okay, so it actually doesn't matter. Well, it does matter and it doesn't. It gives me 1 more damage. It doesn't train my opponent, my neighbor cards any more powerfully. But still, that matters because the oppress will multiply due to my damage. So, of course, that's good. Sometimes that 1 extra damage can be like a game changer. You go from 3 to 4, it's a big deal. And did we get anything else? Oh yeah, look at that. This is worth the price of admission right there. This upgrade was by far worth the cost of those. Going from 2 to 3 damage is a huge upgrade. The double strike, yes, please. This card is great. This card I play a lot. Even the speed, it's one sort of impediment or difficulty is like not the biggest deal. You know, there's lots of scenarios where 2 is fine, and you add speed to that with speed manipulation from your team. Powerful card. So I think that's the story for me with respect to Soulbounds. I don't think I will be making a ton of them liquid. I never really obtained a crazy amount of them, and so that probably means I don't unlock a ton of them. I think it makes perfect sense to unlock your summoners if you have the DEC to make that happen, because summoners are going to always command a certain desirability long term. I have 58,000 merits. Wow, that's quite a few. How are we at? What are we at energy-wise? Look at that, 56. I have to play some games here before that energy runs out. I'll probably record a battle game after we end this live. Okay, so I got about 10 more minutes, guys. I'll try and rip through some more comments. Exis. Hey 12, this is my first time catching you live. Love your content. Keep it up, brother. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Paul, what do you think about Proposal 158 for Soulbound cards? I don't know if I saw that one. Are you talking about? Okay, let's look. Let's go in here. Peak monsters. Proposals. 158. One of the community drafts, I guess. Soulbound reward card proposal. I haven't seen this yet. Soulbound reward card proposal immediately and ongoing accessibility. Voting on early unlocks. Please note that this proposal is put to a vote early unlocks and not to define the parameters of said unlocks. We provided an example of implementation purely for reference. This proposal has been crafted in response to Yabamat's suggestion that during the most recent town hall, encouraging the community to present an alternative approach to management of Soulbound reward cards, and this document aims to address that call with a comprehensive plan. What's the read time on this? 3 minutes. Okay, I'm going to read the whole thing. Eliminating the exploitation of bots. One of the major achievements we've accomplished in eliminating the exploitation of the system by bots. This was a significant challenge, but through a series of sweeping changes over the last 18 months, in combination with the more recent implementation of robust battle helper identification systems, we successfully tackled this issue. I think that's fair. This milestone sets the stage for introduction of reward cards in a more secure, fair environment. I think that logically holds water. I think, first of all, the assertion that the bots have largely been held down or maybe removed is accurate. And I think, secondly, the suggestion that that we could return to a more, let's say, flexible reward card system might be logically correct. Availability of reward cards. It is crucial that the reward cards are accessible to players from the outset. I don't necessarily agree with that. And I've heard the People's Guild talk on this before. And I heard Fat Jimmy talk on this before. And it's like there's this expression of frustration because you can't get the card that other people are using against you. But in my mind, that's okay. I don't necessarily love that. But I actually like that there's... okay, how do I feel about this? On the one hand, I like that somebody can be rewarded in a powerful, meaningful way for their commitment and time in the game. And that might mean they get cards that you don't have. They played more, they play often, they buy energy, etc. But then again, you could go with that and say, well, I've been unlucky and I've never gotten any Izzyars in the whole time I've been playing. And I've been playing every day and I buy energy, and that's just been the bad luck of the draw. Yeah, that sucks. And so I'm not necessarily saying I fully agree with you that it's important that the player from the outset has access to all the same reward cards. I think it's okay if they don't have access. But at some point, I start to agree with you, because it's like ridiculous if you don't have Izzyar yet. That card's too good. And so then this part, even at high prices, while the glint shop provides some assistance, it falls short in certain aspects. For instance, players often spend 250,000 glint for 10 legendary cards after a season, yet fail to acquire that crucial meta card. Yeah, that's fair. This indicates a need for a more reliable, efficient method for players to obtain this specific card. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, but I don't disagree either. I'm a little unsure because I would say we haven't had the legendary card draws for that long. If we had had the legendary card draw opportunity for the last year, I think you would see that there would have been 26 more draws, right? Because every season you get a new one that's the regular price or the cheap price. And so you probably would have had the cards you want. I think, maybe. And then carrying on, you say, enhancing the value of gameplay. The value derived from playing the game extends beyond merely earning SPS. Yes, it does. Players invest thousands of dollars in acquiring cards to compete at high levels. Therefore, the rewards investments need to be substantial. It's not enough for players to earn SPS and glint. There must be additional incentives and higher stakes involved. Players should feel that the financial time investment in unlocking these cards are justified by rewards they receive, enhancing their... I agree with your sentiment, but I don't necessarily agree with your implication. The sentiment is that people should receive high value rewards for their effort in a game. Otherwise, they're not going to put money into it. If it's a Web3, time and attention matters, then they're not going to put money in it if they don't see returns. Yes, but you are implying that SPS and glint is not a substantial reward, and I don't share that opinion. The true drive to play the game. There is a prevailing opinion that the main attraction to playing the game is the necessity of obtaining new soulbound cards. However, the truth is closer to the fact that the game is inherently fun. Fair, which is why players continue to engage with it. If the sole purpose of playing the game becomes merely to collect the soulbounds, then a deeper issue arises. The game has lost its fun. Yes, I agree. The enjoyment and the excitement of gameplay must remain at the forefront for the player experience. The thrill of strategy competition, yeah, I agree. And ensuring the game remains entertaining and engaging is paramount to its success and longevity. I think you're saying that, we don't want the carrot on the carrot to be, hey, there's better soulbounds. You should play today so you get the soulbound. But I don't actually believe that's what's happening. In my opinion, the game is fun and it's fun to pursue the soulbounds. And so I look at it as like two positives, not, one positive. And I don't really think you think the soulbound pursuit is the sole focus of the game either. I'm not sure I entirely agree with that, but I do agree you want to make sure that the game keeps being fun. And if what you're saying is that, and I think this is part of what you're saying, if you're saying it becomes unfun, pardon me, if you're saying it will become unfun if I can't get these assets and I'm longing for them, and it's impairing my ability to have player agency within the game and play certain skill sets, yeah, that's going to erode a little bit of the fun at some point in the future. If you can't get it at first, I kind of get it. If you can't get it in the middle of the release, that's annoying and unfair maybe, but still maybe that's okay. At some point, it should be available, in my opinion. So conclusion, by addressing these key points, the proposal aims to create a more balanced approach to rewarding and the competitive environment for all players, ensuring that the management of soulbound reward cards aligns with the needs and the expectations of the community. Okay. Instantly unlockable for higher fees and decreasing over time towards the set patch. Yeah. Okay. I don't need to analyze your suggestions to fully agree with the idea that they should be unlockable for some ludicrous number right out the gate. So what I would ultimately say is I disagree with some of your maybe underlying presumptions about how important soulbound cards are on day one, about how reasonable or unreasonable it is to wait for them to come. And maybe I think some of the changes we've already implemented could solve some of the problems, meaning the legendary draws will begin to solve this problem. Because if you don't have Izzyar yet, and if you keep buying the legendary draws, you will get Izzyar. Mind you, we're about to cancel that Soulbound set, meaning your time is running out. If we had the legendary draws from day one, you would have gotten all the cards you wanted. That's my point. So moving forward, I don't know that we need this sort of immediate unlock thing, because I think the draws will be sufficient. However, I think if we wanted to implement something like this, that's fine too. I would be super in support of this, because it might mean a significant burn rate that goes toward like DC being burnt or Glint being burnt at 20x the collection power. I guess that's DC. I don't see what token you're talking about there. But I love the idea of giving people opportunities to manage their economy in the realm of Splinterlands on how they attribute cards, how they buy cards, how they, good. It's another option in terms of how you access value in this ecosystem and manage your account. And it's part of the complexity of what Splinterlands is, because it's not just an auto brawler. It's also this navigating of card management, resource allocation, because no one has infinite assets. So how are you going to use the minimum, the finite resources you have access to? So I am maybe in disagreement with some of your suggestions here. I assume this is you, Jangles, but I think super well written, for one. Two, I ultimately agree that this would be a good idea. So I'm for that. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. I think it was you, Paul. Yep. Thanks, Paul, for bringing that to my attention. I appreciate that. A few more comments, guys. A few more minutes here. Asmon, I'm okay with Bear going several more months so I can get a few hundred or thousands of bucks to spend on cards. Yeah, me too, man. That's one of those things where if you believe in something, you're not eager for the bear market to end, because you're just, and that's my sentiment. I wish I could move. What I would love, and it's probably not going to happen, but I would love for the bull market to begin in some of my assets and allow me to move into others. That's what I'm hoping for. And people who really do well in the bull market are the ones who get that one big swing. Like you get a home run in one of your assets and you move some of that token around, take some ice cream money, but then you move some of that value into another position that you love and believe in and see that one do a home run. If your 10x does a 10x, that's where like real life change happens. Asmon says, got 8 kilograms of silver in my room. Good for you, brother, but you shouldn't keep that much silver lying around. Too much danger, too much risk. Because I think silver goes to $100 a troy ounce. So, I mean, I have, I think I have, so I do not, so we're perfectly clear, I do not keep silver or gold like on my premises, but I have like long-term remote storage as part of my retirement. It's under a Lyra, so it's like held like under lock and key in a safe that's like not even controlled by me. But I can buy and sell real physical silver within that setting, and that's where I keep my silver. And yeah, like I'm with you, brother. Kilograms, the more the merrier. I used to, on this channel, if you go way back to like 5 or 6 years ago, whenever I started making content, one of my first videos was talking about how I want to have 1,000 ounces of silver. And I was making an argument for why, historically speaking, like that is like a basis of true wealth. Like that's a line in the sand for true wealth. And I still stand by all those opinions. I just I don't necessarily talk about silver as much, but I'm a big proponent of it. Matt said, stomped by bots was no problem for new signups because almost all new players played one game in ranked. Never played one. That's right. Asmon is making a great point, because the earlier there was a comment saying the bots are one of the big reasons why people didn't play or didn't stick around. And he's right. Asmon's right. The data shows there's 100 new signups every day and no one's even playing. Like no one's buying a spell book. None of those new signups are playing a game. And so it's not about, hey, I played and got smacked around by bots. They are just getting annoyed by sort of some of the impediments. Hive keychain, spellbook cost, under cryptocurrency understanding or whatever. Mobile experience, whatever it is. A few more minutes here, guys. State of Survival. When I first joined, I was getting my butt kicked, so I got so pissed that I bought cards. I guess that means that if someone has the means, they will join the game. I think it's a combination of two worlds. One, people will seek here, find it, find joy, excitement, believe in the future, and start putting value there because they have deep pockets, financial pockets. And that's going to be most of the Western world. But then I think also the broader global economy, there's significant participation that could happen that might be minimal in terms of financial offerings. You picture somebody who's got $100 a month that they can spend on something, even $10 a month that they can spend on something. They could come and have a meaningful impact on a space like this. In a myriad of ways that I can't probably fully unpack right now. But just scratching the surface, having more real human players playing this game would be good. Starting a broad campaign of advertising from a third world perspective, spoken by those third world participants, saying, hey, I'm enjoying this. You should try it too. We saw that happen really organically in the Philippines for Splinterlands. And I think if it happened in Africa, if it happened in India, that could really bolster our player growth. And that then speaks to a broader investment structure from the few people that do have money in those places. Like there's lots of people that have money in those countries, but I'm saying in those parts of the world. But I'm saying if you had 1 million new signups come from India, that would be almost nothing. And then you might see some big pockets in India recognize the game and start to buy in from an investment standpoint, even if they themselves are just investors, speculators. And so I think it's pretty interesting to imagine, to think that through. Is it possible that the team was targeting the wrong group of people too? Too young, no money? Maybe. Yeah, that's probably part of it. Bananas, good to see you. I see you retracted your message, but I've been noticing you a lot lately, Bananas. Good to see you. Bolts, waza. Good to see you, brother. I'm playing the Ghost Tourney with all the SPL maxed wild cards. You saw these every Friday or so. I have heard about the Ghost Tourneys, but I haven't participated. I keep forgetting about it, to be honest. It's the new family dynamic. Bananas, you can choose own Soulbound and then click on, good to think. Thank you for that reminder. Thank Paul chiming in there too. Asmon, I got 3 Izzyar gold foils and missing 1, but gonna be too expensive to buy it. Yeah, that might be interesting to sell. Now, it won't be cheap to unlock, but like a card like Izzyar and gold foil could be one of those where you look at the marketplace and consider that option. There could be a financial return to you for even above the unlock cost. Worth thinking about maybe? If I had that card in gold foil, I would look at that. I have a level 3 gold foil Soriel. And I would consider, I'll look what the price point is doing. What? Did I sell it? Did I burn it? I guess I burned it. For real? I'm really surprised right now that I appear to have burnt it. Okay. I guess I did. I had a level 3 of this guy. I guess I burned it. Back to the comments. A couple more minutes. Oh, you know what? We better wrap here. Stever, I see you out there. I invited Stever to come join me today, but he was too busy. Work stuff. Another time, pal. Guys, so many good comments. Sincerely appreciate the attention and the time today. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for talking Splinterlands. I'm going to try and do this again next Friday. That might be members only. I'm also going to try and I'm going to try and set up 2 lives a week. And so I will make some of that be members only. So if you want more content like this, that's maybe particular and directed to you specifically, then maybe check out the membership tab on the YouTube channel and consider getting involved at whatever level you want. Thanks guys. Have an amazing day. And